Hello, hello. One moment, just getting set up here. Welcome to the Country Chic Paint Live today on YouTube. Hi, just getting set up. Thank you for joining. Make sure my comments are all set up here. Today's video is on kitchen cabinets. Got my examples ready. So I'm just going to get set up here. Make sure I can get my comments read to you. There we go. Okay. Hi, Mary from Country Chic Paint. Oh, hey Brandon, thanks for tuning in. Let me know anybody else who's coming in, where you're from, how your day is going. Maybe you've already watched it before in other videos. Just going to wait kind of right on the dot here, so just going to give it a couple seconds for more people to come on. Got all of my prep and tools ready. There is a discount code that will be shared in this video, so be staying tuned for that. All right. Laptop's freezing, that's fun. Okay, so we are ready. Got enough people on. If you don't know already, my name is Mary. Hello, I work for Country Chic Paint and I am stuck at home like maybe a few of you are, just painting away now. So I've got some time on my hands and wanted to share a couple of tips and ideas. A lot of these are on our tutorials section on the website, but just wanted to show you some physical examples because maybe you're thinking about doing a couple kitchen cabinet projects. Maybe you have some things that you want to refresh in your home. These products are definitely the way to do it. So just going to jump in. I've done 2 videos already on kitchen cabinets. Be sure to check those out. It covers some prep tips and things like that. I will just breeze through those really quickly here if you are doing your own cabinets. I've pre-painted these guys. This is in Whoop-De-Doo and this is in Driftwood. There was a bit of prep involved because they're older cabinets that were a bit greasy. So what I did is they had a lot of gunk on them, just typical oak cabinets. I'll share one spare that I got. It's a bit too big to be painting. So this is just a typical regular run-of-the-mill oak cabinet. Still has the hardware on. I did remove those from these. I used TSB cleaner, which is a mineral spirit, kind of takes all the grease off. You can use rubbing alcohol, which is a little safer to use in the house, or a denatured alcohol. Other odorless spirits will do the trick. Spray that on, give it about 10 minutes, wipe off the solvents, make sure you're thorough. A couple of rinses with a spray bottle is a good idea. Have a nice clean surface. You can either decide to sand with 180 grit to just rough up the surface if it has any kind of shiny coating, or you can use Country Chic Paint Primer. I've just got this in a squeeze bottle because I use it often for shiny pieces, anything faux wood, melamine. This does not block bleed through, it is just to help with adhesion. So if you do have a cabinet that has a lot of tricky stains on it, or it might be a wood with tannins, or it's from a smoking home, you might want to use a stain blocking primer. With kitchen cabinets, you might have a lot, so you really want to focus on prep. Make sure that's done well so you don't have to go back a step later on. When you're finished prepping, a couple coats of paint work great. Our paint works wonderful in a sprayer. It can also be done with a brush. My go-to is just this handy 1.5 oval brush. The 2-inch is great for covering the larger areas. And then really give it a good dry time. 24 hours is recommended on our tutorial for paint coatings to dry before you seal with Tough Coat, which is this guy right here. If you are working in a cooler climate, it might be best to wait maybe 2 days instead of just the recommended one before you seal. You really want to make sure your paint's dry before you seal with the Tough Coat. You're going to want this on your paint because it's a matte finish. This won't really be protected against spaghetti stains or regular grease and wear and tear from the kitchen. So Tough Coat is where it's at. Just use this handy painting sponge. You can use this for primer, paint, and the Tough Coat. I did use it for the cabinet in the other tutorial. If you guys want to see past cabinet projects, check it out. So this one has a shiny finish. This is our satin top coat, Tough Coat. So it has a very nice, durable, can't mess it up. Great for outdoor decor, great for tabletops. Ooh, I'm going to kick that cabinet. All right, so that's what you would put on this, but I do want to do something fancy to these cabinets before we seal them. So I just wanted to show you that today. For watching, I wanted to share a code. It is Mother's Day coming up, so the code is mothers with an S 10. That gets you 10% off our website, countrychicpaint.com. Go ahead and use that. It is good till May 14th. And if you miss the deadline, don't worry. We always kind of hand out coupons every week in these, so always handy. Just gonna shake my paints because they have been sitting for a bit. So I want to do the wet distress technique over this cabinet in driftwood. It's already a light mushroom taupe color. It's a little darker than, say, Pop the Bubbly. I want to brighten it up, but still keep some of this color peeking through. So I've given this plenty of time to dry because I will be applying wet coating and then rubbing that off. So I gave this overnight before I tackled the next step. I'm going to be using Lazy Linen, which is this really beautiful, super light gray. Can a gray be pastel? It's pastel gray. So that's what we got. Almost a white. It's a linen. It's a linen gray. It's perfect. Absolutely love it. So if you're afraid of bright whites or anything like that, you want something cool and light but not white, Lazy Linen might be for you. So I'm just going to use a clean brush. Make sure that's ready to go. Lazy Linen might take about 2 coats to cover nicely, so it's not patchy. I'm not too worried about that because I'm just going to give it a quick once over with the hairdryer, another coat, and then I'll wet distress it. So I'm going to start off with my first coat here. Nice thin coats do the trick. And I'm just going to go right over the paint. When I go to wet distress with a cloth, some of the driftwood will peek through. Now, if you're painting and you find that the other color is being brought up for some reason, it could be either an adhesion issue or you didn't give it enough time to dry. To show you what I mean, the 24-hour wait worked for me. I just like to take a scratch test with fingernail. Just kind of, I'm not very hard trying to scratch it off, but just a couple passes with the nail. I can't see through the wood. It adhered just fine. There's just a couple of nicks, but you can wipe those away, of course, with a cloth. So it adhered well. It's great. If this went right through the wood, I might want to actually take a step back and prep properly, but I have good adherence. So the second coat, the new color should go on just fine. And don't want to be too sloppy if you're going for a nice smooth finish. You will be rubbing this some of it off, but of course still want to do a nice neat and tidy job. So it's actually got a nice layer already. Let me know in the comments if you've ever used any of these colors. If you like the combination of driftwood and Lazy Linen, I'm always curious to see what people would pair up in their kitchens. I'm a huge fan of using more than just one color. Can you do a wet distress finish with Country Chic paint over artist acrylics? Well, our paint is water-based and so is the acrylic paint. I think acrylic doesn't have quite of a matte sheen as chalk-style paints do, so you could, but it might have a nice, more natural look if you were to use 2 chalk-style paints instead of an acrylic. Just depends. Certainly something to test. Thanks for that question, Tammy. So just getting in the crevices, making sure. This did have a couple of gouges in it, so I had sanded that fine before I painted anything. So those aren't popping up at all, which is nice. Makes it look like a new cabinet. All sorts of things can be hidden with paint. Just another tip, if you didn't want to do a full-on wet distress, if you wanted more driftwood peeking through than the white, another technique you could try is dry brushing. All that is taking kind of a rougher brush, a chip brush, kind of taking these rougher bristle brushes. Dry brushing is a technique with just a little bit of paint on the end of the bristles that you're just passing over grooves and edges. That does kind of create a similar effect if you were to do that like very heavily, but just the wet distress might be easier. So be sure to check out these tutorials and techniques on the Country Chic Paint website. I am choosing to wet distress in this demonstration. There are two other ways you can distress paint like this. We recommend you use sandpaper once both layers have dried. Or you can use the beeswax distress method, which is using a beeswax bar over the first color. That wax will resist new paint, so anywhere you put that, it will be very easy to rub right off. You kind of end up wet distressing a little bit anyways. With the beeswax bar, you can't put a water-based top coat on top. That's the only thing. So be sure to check out the prep guide and what the beeswax bar does. It works for a lot of projects, but anything you need to seal for durability, it might not be ideal. So the wet distress and the sanding are my two popular ways to make a nice shabby finish. Am I going to paint the other side? Good question, Rose. For this demonstration, I'm not. Just because it might make it harder to hold and I will definitely get paint on myself. I won't be doing that. If you are doing your own cabinets at home and you want the inside painted, very common to do, be prepared to use a bit more paint. The average 10 by 10 kitchen takes about 2 to 4 quarts of paint depending on what you're working with and what you're doing. Be prepared to use about the same amount of Tough Coat. And do the same kind of prep that you would for the backs. They might not be as heavily coated because most factory finishes aren't focused on the inside of cabinets, but you still might want to do some work to it. So, oops, I'm not sure if you can see that, but I didn't wait too long. The paint has kind of brought up just on the corner, so that's my bad. That's the sign you need to stop working over there. So I'll just let that dry. For the wet distress technique, we suggest letting the paint dry for about 20 minutes before you go in with a lint-free cloth. Now, I know that I want a nice, fully opaque layer of lazy linen where it will be staying. So I'm going to do 2 coats. I'm just going to let this dry for a sec. We'll go on to the other one, and then we'll be wet distressing it. And it looks so great when it's done. The best part is distressing. Oh, nice. Kate Miller's painting her bathroom cabinets today. What color, Kate? That'd be awesome. Can't wait to see. I know you're going to take beautiful pictures. All right. So, oops, I'm going to get this out of the way. Just going to let that dry in safety over here. All right. This one is the other cabinet I am so excited to show you. Just a couple of coats, 3 coats I think for Whoop-De-Doo. I did 3 really thin coats of our bright tropical teal that has a bit of a green tone to it. Absolutely gorgeous. Whoop-De-Doo. What I want to do is kind of a Bermuda blend. If you don't know what that is, Google it. There's a lot of beautiful examples. They are commonly done with greens and blues, so this will be a really easy example. My pea coat is a little dry. This is an older jar that I don't use very often. Just a quick hack, if you guys have thicker paint, like maybe it's an older jar, it's had some air exposure, just squirt a bit of water into it and shake it up. That might do the trick. So give that a good shake. It's a good workout for the chicken arms too. Make sure, because you don't want a thick consistency, you want it just perfect. That worked. Okay, so a bit of water, that's all I needed. Ooh, clean brush. Clean brush. Nice. Okay, so she did a custom mix with fireworks and sage advice and a little hollow hill. That's gorgeous. Cute. Did you seal it with Tough Coat too, since it's in the bathroom? Oops. Just want a little bit of this. So what we're going to do, what I'm going to do, you're going to watch, I'm going to put, similar to the video before with glaze, I'm going to be putting the darker paint just into the crevices and the edges and blending it all in for a really nice effect. You could use clear glaze with a bit of pea coat in it, but it won't have quite of a pigmented look. Those do act more like stains, so this is going to do the trick for me. Again, I made sure Whoop-De-Doo had plenty of time to dry because I will be doing some work on this. I don't want it pulling up on me. You have to give the base layers plenty of time to dry or you'll be in for a surprise. That's kind of true for most paints. Dry times. important. So that's just kind of the corners, work in it. I am going to be wanting to keep the surface mostly wet, so in a second I'll be using the spray bottle. Alright. So that's a little bit. I do need a clean brush for my whoop-de-doo. So you'll want the base color you worked with, and then you'll want the color you're accenting with. This is similar kind of rules to ombre. You're just blending with water and 2 colors of paint. You need 2 clean brushes and a third one to blend those 2 colors together. A spray bottle helps. One that mists really finely is kind of an asset to have. You don't want to have something that shoots a direct stream. That's not going to make a nice finish. Okay, so I'm just going to really lightly, oops, got some dried paint on there. Now when you spray, it kind of does create, if you want this look, it does create sort of a sea foam kind of effect where the water, sorry, water droplets. I need water, one moment. So sorry about that. So sorry, it's dry in here. Okay. The water droplets will dry and be a little lighter, so that's definitely something to think about. Oh, apologies, it's a live video. So I've got my clean brush, my whoop-de-doo. I'm good. Okay, sorry about that. Pea coat is still a little wet where I've applied it. Got my whoop-de-doo. Just gonna have that right in the edges here. Oops. Gonna try, oh boy. All right. Just need to add one more line there. Yeah. This is the slightly bigger brush if you wanted to see. This is the 1.5 and the 2 inch. Slight difference in size. Now I want this brush to be a little moist. This is my blending brush. Ooh. All right, so I've got my 2 colors. Both are wet right now. And all I'm gonna do is blend them together. If you are working in an area that's rather warm like me, this will dry up on you quicker than you might like. So just always keep the surface wet. That's the trick to it. And I do kind of want to keep the square look to everything. So I'm just making sure that still looks like that. And as that fade, see where I'm going with this maybe? Gonna add a bit more. This is the whoop-de-doo brush. Just gonna slap whoop-de-doo right on the center there. Just a bit of paint to get it around. Where's the clean brush? Did it already get dirty? Okay. Yeah, very warm in here. Make sure you don't confuse your spray bottle with TSB cleaner. Alright, so we got a nice fade going. I'm just pushing some of the pea coat back into the corners where it came from. Alright. I find that blues blend really easy, so if you're new to this and you want to just start out, play with blues first. That might be just entirely opinion related, but it seems really easy for me when I'm working with blues or even just a typical dark to light gradient. Some colors just go really well together. Let me know what you guys think so far in the comments. You might not be able to see, but when this dries, there's going to be kind of like a watercolor brush mark effect. So it does look very artsy. If you have an eclectic kitchen, this is just kind of something that's going to really make that pop. Alright, just need a bit more of the clean whoop-de-doo. And doing multiple cabinets might take a while, but if this is what you want to do with your cabinets and you want it to look great, putting in the effort is definitely worth it. You might want to wash your brushes a few times every couple of cabinet doors. Where's Pico? There it is. So now I'm going to go do the outsides. So I'm just going to blend this to that. I've got to re-wet those areas. And got to take my whoop-de-doo brush and just feed that in there. Our paints blend really well with water. They are water-based paint. Simple clay pigments, clay and chalk, so it's a lot of fun to work with. So that's kind of what's going on. Keep that blending one clean and just blend them together. It's hard to see with the glare what I'm doing. Just a moment. Whew. If you were to do rainbow cabinets, would love to see that. Like maybe just a couple. I don't know who would do that, but I would love to see it. All right. I just want that a little softer, so I'm going to use a bit more water. Just a quick pass over it. Need more, whoop-de-doo. It's pretty forgiving. If you do mess up or you find things are tacking up, let it dry and come back to it. Oops. If you find you're constantly ending up with brush marks of the other color, it means your blending brush is getting a little too dirty and you might need to clean it off. And there's no real science to this, it's just learning how to work with it. Basic mixing. Ooh, yes, that's what I wanted to happen. Okay, so because I'm using a spray bottle, I'm going to get in closer. What I did is I slowly lifted some of the fresh layers of water. All I'm doing is really lightly passing over the brush. Can you see that? There's some little white kind of like lighter bubbles. That's what I want for this particular look with my spray bottle. It's kind of got this like sea foam spray going to it. I'll take pictures and I'll be sure to post them on Facebook so you can see, just in case it's not coming up very clearly. But there's just kind of a couple in the corner where you can see whoop-de-doo popping out through that pea coat. So I gotta let that dry for just a second before I can tackle the outside. Oops. Keep your jars closed and clean. It's just a good practice. It's nothing sadder than knocking something over and there it goes on your hardwood or your carpet. Bermuda two-toned pea coat. Ah, thanks, that's awesome. Thanks, Tammy. Yeah, I figured these two colors would be the easiest. When we brought whoop-de-doo in, I knew that I had to use it with pea coat. It's such a gorgeous color. Pea coat's a great mixing color too. It's a classic navy. All right, so I've got this one. We let it dry for a little bit. See how it is. We need to just dry this really briefly with a hairdryer. Keeping everything clean and protected. Okay, so I'm just gonna really quickly pass over this with a hairdryer. Sorry for the noise. Just want to make sure it's really dry before I go in with my second coat. First coat over driftwood was pretty good. It's not too patchy. Obviously I missed some spots there, but I do plan on rubbing a lot of it off on the outside, so I'm not too worried. Feels good. You could wet distress now if you liked the look, but I'm just gonna really quickly go over some of the patchier areas for a cleaner look. This brush is still good, nice and wet. If you're working in between coats, just wrap any of your brushes up in a Ziploc bag or plastic wrap, keeps them nice and moist. Same goes for wax brushes. So just filling it in, because I know when I go to wipe, it will just be on the areas the cloth is brushing over, which gives it a really distressed look for the wet distress method. But if you weren't too careful, it might look patchy. So just got to fill in some of the areas. And I let that dry, so now I can fix that overworking area pretty easily. It's very hard to mess up a project if you follow the prep and just wait for things to dry and fix any unwanted texture with some sandpaper. All right, just really lightly on here. It's good. All right, I'm gonna let this dry. This might be ready to touch now. Looks like it is on the outside. Kind of just, you can do quite a few projects in one day if you time everything right. I'm not in any particular hurry though. All right, so just gonna make sure this has a little drying. Sorry for the hairdryer again. Oops. Wanted to make sure that anything I touched on the outside wasn't immediately brought back up again. So that's had a bit of time to dry. It's definitely darkened. So now I'm going to go in with Pico just on the outside and finish it up. Getting lots of paint on the outside of the jar. Okay. Got just what I need for the outside. I don't need as much on here, and I'm just applying it on the outsides. I kind of want a nice little fade. That's kind of the dry brushing effect if you wanted to see. I'll get in closer, make it more easier to see. So that's just a nice beveled edge. This is dry brushing. Really simple. You're just lightly going over it with the ends of a brush that barely has any paint on it. Something that's a little chippier and rougher than our nice smooth ovals is probably best, but just a very simple technique. Can I use the lid product? Yeah. Real lightly through the center. I want it on the top. This is a handle. All right, and my whoop-de-doo. Coming in with that again. Oh, hey Peggy, thanks for tuning in. Anything you missed so far, we'll definitely be able to, you can view it again once we upload this video. So no worries there. Just gonna add a bit of that to the mix. And I forgot to add some heat over the top here. So I am going right over the two colors. You can get a little messy. That's the best part about the Bermuda blending. It's just a lot of fun experimenting with the color. Can't go wrong. I do want that spray effect on the outside, So I'm just gonna really lightly come at it from the outside. Got the clean blending brush here. Not so clean anymore, that's okay. Needs a bit more water on the actual paint. Definitely want to keep it all moist. You can reactivate some of the layers that you just applied. Very easy to. The bigger oval brush is definitely helping with a nice soft fade. It's not streaky. Very natural. Just like looking at the bottom of the ocean. I haven't seen tropical water myself in person. I haven't gone on that kind of vacation yet, but I hope to. I'm sure it looks like this. Okay. If you find that it's too dark, you can either pop some whoop-de-doo in the center there and lighten it up while it's still wet, or wait for everything to dry and just repeat the steps. Make sure you keep that blending brush clean as possible. It's just supposed to bring the two colors together, not make mud. Okay. So that's kind of how it's looking so far. Sorry you can't see quite close enough. Here we go. My arm is getting tired, that's for sure. If you are a fellow painter like me, you probably have some furniture painting muscles. Very unique. Especially hefting furniture that you say you can carry, that you can't. That's me. Okay, so that's the whoop-de-doo Bermuda blending idea. Very rustic, it adds depth, it just brings a little life to the cabinet. And that was a simple wood cabinet that we've now created something gorgeous out of. So that's exciting. I'm gonna let that dry. Let me know what you think of it in the comments, and I will take pictures so you can see the up close, because there's a lot of brush marks and texture that you might not be able to see that really kind of give it that beautiful artist look. Have you practiced the effect on a non-bevel? Yes, absolutely. That's just a classic ombre blending technique. Ooh, I don't have it to show you. I made this really cool Northern Lights sign, painted it all in black. Then I used Bliss on the bottom, which is a bright tropical color. That's this one here. And then I had Pico actually on the top as the night sky. It blended right in, added a mountain. It was absolutely gorgeous. That's just a scrap piece of wood. Just a scrap piece of wood. Simple plywood. We were gonna throw it out and I was like, stop, I can make a sign out of that. So yes, you can definitely do this technique on a flat piece of wood. Give it some depth. Okay, so I'm gonna put my colors away because now it is time to wet distress the Lazy Linen painted cabinet. Got my lint-free cloth. All right, yeah. So it's dry again, just in the span of doing that touch up and talking. It's dry to the touch. I can see a couple areas where it might be a little wet. I do want it just freshly dried, so it's only had 10 minutes maybe, the whole top layers. Got my lint-free cloth. This is a Frank's cloth from Canadian Tire. You can get them at most hardware stores. J-cloths. It's just a reusable dishcloth. Any way to tell that something's lint-free, just try and pull it away. Just give it a shake. There's no cloud of lint. This is a regular shop rag. Just giving that a shake, I can see it all come out. Don't want to use something like that. That will embed into your finish. When you go to put a nice clean water-based top coat over top, you'll see these hairs. I have a cat, and every so often I see his hair in the finish of something. That's a pet peeve of mine, really, about my pet. You can always sand those out. It might be a little painstaking to touch up. Just sand the hair off and touch it up with paint and reseal. Quick fix. So for the wet distressing, you do of course need a damp, wet cloth. You don't want it dripping because all you're going to do is activate those layers and it's just going to pill up much quicker than you want. If you didn't get to your project in time and it's had maybe 2 hours or 3 hours to dry, I've even come back the next day and decided I want a wet distress, and it worked for me. If the cloth doesn't work, try like a dish scrubby pad. one of those green ones, something that's obviously not going to break off into the finish, but that will do the trick as well. So a nice brown color is underneath, and I want to reveal that. I'm going to just go ahead, start with the corners. Really simply, all I'm doing is just rubbing. I am just stressing the paint. I like wet distressing the most as a technique. It offers a very natural, sometimes even chippy looking finish. If you are going for the rustic, shabby chic look, it's great to do in the home, mess-free. Sanding, you have to have a tarp down or be ready to vacuum. If it's a nice day, definitely go ahead and sand outside. It has a similar effect. All of the distressing methods do lend similar effects. You're definitely going to be seeing one color through another. But sometimes when you're layering finishes and you don't want the original surface to peek through, so I don't want the wood to peek through. I want this to look like a nice brown cabinet with white paint. This is better because this is gently removing the top layer instead of accidentally sanding through all of them. So that's probably the biggest help with wet distressing. It's clean and you have more control over how much you're actually removing. And easy fix, if you do get down to the wood, just paint over it. If you're finding you're easily tearing up the paint and you can see the wood and you don't want to, that does mean that maybe something didn't have enough time to dry right from the get-go, or maybe you needed a primer or prepping. Just depends on what you're painting. Every piece is different. A dresser might not be the same as a cabinet. You might end up doing something different. So just lightly working the edges. I do want it to look mostly like lazy linen. If you are going for the shabby chic look, you probably already want some texture to it as well. With the wax coat I applied, I did kind of cross hatch in the corners. So now that I'm wiping it back, I do have this interesting texture where the white is kind of just sitting on top of the brown in an interesting way. It does make it just kind of a nice barnwood sort of look that I am loving. All right. And again, probably want more distressed around the edges because that's where it naturally would have happened. But I'm going for kind of a more dramatic look, so I'm just going to apply more pressure. Sand as little as you, or much as you like, it's up to you. If you sanded too much, again, just paint over it. Or sorry, distress too much. Okay. So, gonna take a cleaner part of the cloth, and I just have like a finger pressure going on here to get into the little raised trim. I want that to be definitely a bit more driftwood than lazy linen. Keep your edges clean. Oh, got another question. Do you use primer on kitchen cabinets? I did cover it in the beginning of this video, and there's a couple other videos we did. Some kitchen cabinets may need primer. We offer our own clear bonding primer, but you may need a stain blocking primer. That's something to check out on our surface prep guide or the kitchen cabinet tutorial. These cabinets in particular are basic oak cabinets that I did not do much prep to besides a really good clean and sand. And for scuff sanding, I only used 180 grit paper to scuff them up and just rough up the original coating. It really was just a very simple polyacrylic coating over top of these, nothing fancy. Some cabinets that you're working with, like factory made IKEA cabinets, those are going to have all sorts of things designed to not allow for new coatings. So just consider what you're working with and follow the right prep. So I want somewhere kind of in the center here. I'm going to be a little careful though because I didn't let it dry completely. And I want a distressed look, not a tacked up look like I couldn't wait for it to dry. So, and trying to keep it to the edges. I won't touch the center. That's how you kind of get the spotted cow look in distressing. It can't be entirely random. There's kind of an art to it. Or if that's the look you're going for, then that's how it should be done. Just depends. All right. Some nice lines right there. How is everybody liking that so far? Just really nice, light distressing. What about using Slick Stick? Sorry, Peggy, I'm not quite sure what Slick Stick is. If that's a primer, as long as it's compatible with our paint, should be all right. Again, ours is designed for adhesion, but you might be looking for something that blocks stains, tannins in the wood, or things like nicotine, which can leave pink spots. If anybody's wondering what the stain blocker's for, if you paint something beautiful, or in white maybe, you'll notice pink spots if it needed bleed through primer. Cool. All right, so just kind of keep going until I get it the way I like. Forgot the handle here. That would definitely be more worn than it is. So I did bring up the wood in some areas that I was just a bit too thorough on, but really closely here, I'll let you see. Absolutely gorgeous. Kind of looks like old faded stone, but it's paint. So anything that you don't like, just paint over, touch up again. Rather simple. So, oops, these are my two examples. Now I would let these dry for about 24 hours or even 2 days if I can, before I would seal them with top coat. This is the Bermuda blend that we just worked on. Pea coat and Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo is the brighter color. Oh, lint-free dish rags, yeah, okay. And then lazy linen with the driftwood. That's what I got to show you for now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more. I come on every couple of days. Again, just one more time, Mothers with an S 10% off of our website. Be sure to use that till May 14th on an order. Just a heads up for tomorrow. I really hope to see some of you guys here because I'm bringing a special guest, my mama. In honor of Mother's Day, we are going to be painting some terracotta pots. Just picked up these simple ones from the dollar store. Going to do them in a couple of cool ways, so be sure to stay tuned for that. I don't even know what we're going to do. She doesn't really paint very much. I've given her some of our paint and she loves what she sees, so we'll see how that goes. I hope to see you there. So that's for tomorrow. Stay tuned, same time, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. If you missed these videos, don't worry, they will be uploaded later. Be sure to check out any of the past ones and subscribe again, just one more reminder. So I hope you guys really liked these examples. Let me know in the comments what kind of combinations you would have done. If you liked these colors, if you have any questions at all about your own projects, you can always email us, countrychicpaint.com. I think it's just hello@countrychicpaint. Be happy to help. And I'm going to sign off now and see everybody tomorrow. Happy painting!